G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtaustralia.com. Now, the Australian government is having another go at the Australian public's right to freedom of speech and political communication. They've issued draft legislation which is going to encroach on our right to freedom of speech and seems to be designed to go after independent journalists and independent publishers. Now, I'll read you out a bit of that draft legislation. You've got till the 6th of August to put in submissions if you want to. And then I'll read you out a comment that's come up on Twitter. And then I'll show you a little video clip where David Littleproud is commenting on the new draft legislation, and that in itself is disinformation. Now, the name of the new legislation is called the Communications Legislation Amendment, Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill 2023. And like I said, you got till the 6th of August 2023 to put in submissions. They only released it on Saturday, the 24th of June. And it says the issue is misinformation and disinformation pose a threat to the safety and well-being of Australians, as well as our democracy, society and economy. In January 2023, the Minister for Communications announced that the Australian government would introduce new laws to provide the independent regulator, the Australian Communications and Media Authority, ACMA, with new powers to combat online misinformation and disinformation. The new powers will enable the ACMA to monitor efforts and require digital platforms to do more, placing Australia at the forefront of tackling harmful online misinformation and disinformation, while balancing freedom of speech. The ACMA will not have the power to request specific content or posts be removed from the digital platform services. So I thought I'd put that line in there. They're saying ACMA don't have the power, but obviously the social media companies like Facebook and Twitter do have the power to delete information at any stage they want to. Now, Thomas Reid has commented on Twitter, and he's obviously read the legislation more than I have. And he says the guts of the definition of misinformation is content that includes information that is false, misleading or deceptive, and is reasonably likely to cause or contribute to serious harm. Disinformation is the same, but with intention to deceive. Problem is the definitions will be applied in practice by digital platforms and by the government regulator, and no reference to a court of law. Content creators or end users appear to have no means of challenging the decisions by the platforms or regulator. And there is a carve-out for mainstream media, academic institutions and all levels of government. None of those are subject to the regime that applies to content produced by members of the public, and also obviously independent journalists and independent producers of content. How convenient for the government, he says. Now, I'll show you a video from Saturday or Sunday, whenever it was, when Channel 9 announced that the new draft legislation was published. And David Littleproud, the leader of the National Party, said social media will kill this country with some of the misinformation that's on there, some of the rubbish that's on there. Let's have a listen to it.
Well, the federal government is setting its sights on fake news on social media. Under new draft legislation, social media giants could be hit with millions of dollars in fines if they repeatedly fail to take down disinformation and misinformation. Here was Nationals leader David Littleproud on the show a little earlier.
I think the intent of what the government's trying to do here makes sense, and I think it does come back to the policing part of it, but it is important. Social media will kill this country with what's on it at the moment, some of the rubbish that's on there.
Under the changes, the maximum penalty for breaching an industry standard would be 5% of a company's turnover, which would be a lot.
Now, David Littleproud was part of the government for 9 years. The federal government is a junior partner of the coalition with the Liberal Party, and they were up to their neck in misinformation and disinformation, lying and deceiving the public on a day-to-day basis. And here he is attacking social media users. It's interesting that the government themselves and political parties, I assume, are exempt from the new laws. So they're not doing anything about, say, for example, lies during the election campaign by the political parties. They don't want to touch that, but they want to silence social media users and independent journalists. And it's interesting that the mainstream media are exempt as well. So it's got the fingerprints of Rupert Murdoch all over it. He's obviously been consulted, and he said, no, I don't want to be part of that. And they said, no worries, Rupert. And they probably contacted Kerry Stokes, who owns Channel 7, maybe Peter Costello, who controls the Nine Entertainment Network. They're protecting the mainstream media who push their propaganda. They want to come after you and me. you as an independent user of social media, me as an independent journalist. Now, I'll put a link in the description box below this video on YouTube to the draft legislation, so you can make a submission if you want to, and you can have a further read of it. And I'll publish an article on this issue in the next couple of weeks. I'll wait for better feedback, more information on the matter. In Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media, I publish a website, YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. And I'm 100% funded by the readers of my website and the viewers of the YouTube channel. So please support me on Patreon or PayPal, and please share this video on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Thank you for your time and have a good day.